Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Pre-Market News and Views by In the Money Stocks. Today is Tuesday, March 4th, 2014. Thank you all for tuning in. Let's jump right into the charts here. What you're going to see is that the S&P 500 E-mini futures are jumping higher by 18 points this morning to 1861 per contract. The market is pretty much gaining everything it lost yesterday back and then some, based on the fact that Vladimir Putin has backtracked his statements a little bit. So again, the Russian leader coming out and really backtracking his statements from yesterday and saying he's not going to use military action. That's going to be the last resort, if need be. And the markets are trading sharply higher. So we have seen the futures come off the highs a little bit. They were up over 20 points at one point, but now they're sitting higher by about $18. So again, we're going to have to watch this situation closely. But anyway you slice it or dice it, the Russian leader is backtracking his statements, and sure enough, the market is keying off of that and moving higher. So we'll leave it at there. I'm not sure we can make too much more out of it, but potentially markets can go higher today, especially if there's more comments come out of Russia or the Ukraine, and we'll see how it plays out. But either way, the market gaining back everything that it lost yesterday and then some so far this morning. Next thing we want to talk about quickly is the European markets today. European markets, for the most part, are all catching a pretty sizable bid higher. The German DAX, which was down about 4%, is up about 2% today. French CAC 40 is up about 2%. London FTSE 100 is up 1.4%. And then you have the Italian market, which was just absolutely annihilated yesterday. That's up about 2.4%. So the European markets are not gaining back everything that they lost, where the S&P 500 is, and I find that to be a little bit of a divergence to take note of. So anyway, that's what we're looking at today. We'll see how this all plays out. Last night in Asia, it was a rather quiet market. Nikkei 225 was up about 0.5%. The Shanghai Composite was down 0.2%. The big winner last night in Asia was the Indian Sensex Index, which was up 1.26%. But outside of that, a little bit on the quieter side. But really, it's the U.S. markets and the European markets that are really keying off of all the news here. So we'll see how this all shakes out going forward. But there's some stocks to talk about today. We're going to start off with Radio Shack. RSH is the ticker symbol here. Stock is getting hammered this morning. It closed at $2.72. Today it's trading at $2.08. Looks like the company will shut down about 20% of its stores. So Radio Shack, I think, is going to close about 20% of their stores, or 1,100 stores. Also, I think they're going to report a larger than expected loss. So no big surprise here. The stock was really in dire straits, but there is some support at $2, and there's no way I'm playing it, but I guess it can hang around the $2 level for a little while. Let's take a look at Qualcomm. Company is doing a share buyback, I believe $5 billion share buyback for Qualcomm. They're also raising their dividends, so that's going to boost the stock. The one thing that would aggravate me if I was a long-term shareholder of Qualcomm, and I'm not, why someone would buy stock up here at the all-time highs. That's kind of silly to me, but nonetheless, that's what's taking place. Watch for resistance on Qualcomm at 77.14. I don't know if it gets up there. It could. 77.14 to 77.30. That's pretty much maybe even be 77.50. That's going to be a big resistance level. We'll look at it on the intraday chart. There may be an intraday scalp short at that level for Qualcomm. Remember, a scalp is just a quick day trade for about 10 to 30 minutes, no more than that. Just looking for a little bite size out of the market on a pullback. But the big resistance level here should be around 77.25, 77.50, somewhere in that vicinity. Let's take a look at VIP Shop here. Ticker symbol is VIPS. This is a Chinese online retailer. The stock is making new all-time highs this morning. So again, the Chinese online sector still remains pretty strong. This is making new all-time highs. I don't have a great level here. It looks overbought to me on all metrics, so I would not be a buyer whatsoever. In fact, if I had the right pattern, I would consider shorting this as a scalp fade play today. But because of the new all-time high, I just don't have a great level. I don't know if it's going to be 160, 165. But I would not be a buyer up here at these levels whatsoever. If it goes higher, it goes higher. But do not chase this up here. This is overbought. It's extended on every metric, and it needs to pull back. It needs to come back in. This could be a gap and crap candidate, or what we call, the institutions like to pop it to drop it. So I'm not sure if that is the case. But anyway, it's a hard one because it's a new all-time high, and we don't have a lot of data to go off of since the stock really is a new issue and just debuted in 2012. So that's the case. Leave it alone. But I would be looking for this one to come back in. Let's take a look at Autozone. Autozone's making another new high here as well. The stock actually has upside potential. There's some resistance around the old high, which was made on the February 12th, 2014 at 561.62. So around the 562 level, watch for some short-term resistance. If it could get through there, then it probably has much further upside. But right now, the near-term resistance on this is 562. It's not a lot you could do with it, but 562 should be, some short-term resistance. It's a very thin stock, meaning the stock does not trade much volume during a day, probably around 300,000 on average. So it's very, very thin, and it's high price. So these things can overshoot very easily, but I would not be chasing AutoZone at this stage of the game. Let's take a look at JCPenney, another retail stock in the news today. Stock is moving up to $8.60. Looks like S&P reaffirmed its credit outlook, so the stock is going to squeeze a little bit higher. The big level right now for JCPenney is probably $10. So I don't know if it gets up there today, but depending on how much of a short squeeze the stock can create, I suppose it could. So again, I'm not saying it's getting there, but it can get there with the amount of short positions that are in this equity. So keep an eye on that one. Let's take a look at Ascena. This is another retail play, Ascena. This is Lane Bryant and things like that. Ascena Retail Group. Right now, the stock is trading at $18.50 a share. It closed at $18.87, so it's just down a touch from where it closed yesterday. Looks like the company reported profit, but the market's not really reacting all that well. So we'll see how it plays out. They did give weaker guidance, I believe. So let me just give you my levels. If the stock rallies up to $20.50, you can short it there. If the stock trades down to around $17.70, you may be able to do a scalp long buy there. Those are the two levels that I'm looking at. It breaks $17.70. Watch out. This thing can go all the way down to around $16.25. So keep that on the radar. Ultimately, I think the stock is going to trade lower, but it may be in some time. May not happen today. But either way, those are your levels for Ascena Retail Group, and we'll see how that plays out. Looking at gold today, gold is trading down $17 to $13.33, 10 an ounce. So the fear factor coming out off of gold today, as you see the comments coming out of Russia. So right now the GLD is trading at 128.50. Yesterday it closed at 128.29. 2 days ago it was trading below 128. So it's still in a decent area. It's pulling back a little bit, which is not really a surprise. Gold has been a little bit overbought, but it still remains in a very strong technical position. And I don't know how much downside we'll see in gold today. Looking at oil today, light sweet crude is trading down $1.20 a barrel to 103.73. Let's go to the USO, which is a good proxy for trading light sweet crude. And you'll see this is trading at 37.20, closed at 37.52. There's not a lot here that I'm seeing, but I do think a little bit more of a pullback would set oil up to go higher in the near term. So that may be worth watching. Again, anytime there's a situation in Russia, it doesn't end in one day. I know a lot of people are thinking that this is a major victory, Putin's stepping back and all of this, but he may just be buying time. This guy is a very calculated individual. So again, don't think this is over by a long stretch. There'll be more to come there. I know the Secretary of State, John Kerry, is in Kiev at the moment, but this is not over in one day. It's not going to be over. We'll see how this all plays out going forward. But again, I think people are rejoicing a little quickly, thinking, "Oh, this is all over. U.S. has put Putin in his place, and that's it." Putin is very calculated. He may be buying himself sometimes to set up some strategic commodity reserves or something like that. So, in any case, that's what I'm thinking. We'll see how this plays out. Rarely does anything happen in Russia. Does it take place just that quickly? So, right now, futures are up 18 and 3/4 points to 1861.75. We'll see how this market plays out. Right now, I don't see any problems on the charts. Markets are okay. They're holding up fine. With that said, everybody have a great trading day, and we will see you a little bit later on the charts. Take care now.